can't. If you have a Bible, turn to Genesis chapter 1. There's a concept here which we don't usually look at. One of the main themes throughout the Bible is the theme of darkness and light. And it's not the theme of the visible light that you see as much as it is of enlightenment, of spiritual knowledge and truth. If you look in Genesis chapter 1, it says, at the beginning, darkness was upon the face of the deep. And after that it says, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. We always look at this as physical darkness, but perhaps it's spiritual darkness more than physical darkness. Darkness was upon the face of the deep, and God said, let there be light. The Spirit came down and created light, spiritual awareness. And the light was good. And he divided the day, or the light, from the darkness. So there was light, spiritual awareness, and darkness, a time when spiritual awareness was not there. Why did he do that? Why was there two concepts? Because he probably, what he did know what was coming. And it said, God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And then moving down a little bit, he says, and God made a great light for the day, and a lesser light for the night. So that even in the daytime, there is some darkness. And even in the times of darkness, there is some light. Especially if the lesser light, the moon, is full. You see, it says in Isaiah that the people who walk in darkness have seen a great light. Not a lesser light, but a great light. Now this is a different concept probably than what we've heard of before. But even the day, the time of the day is mentioned. If you look over in John 11, verse 9, it says, are there not 12 hours of daylight? A man who walks by day will not stumble, for he sees by this world's light. It is when he walks by night that he stumbles, for the light is not in him. If we don't have light showing us the way, we create our own light. We make artificial light. And we create our own light, our own knowledge inside of us. And this is the problem with the world. Because much of the world follows their own light, their own intellect, their own knowledge, and not God. It says the eye, in Matthew 6:23, it says the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? How great is the lack of spirituality, the lack of spiritual insight, the lack of spiritual knowledge, if you walk in the dark. This is part of the problem. If you go back to John the story of Lazarus. When he was coming to Judea from Galilee, the disciples did not want him to come because they said, "You will be killed. You will be stoned. The Pharisees are out to get you." It was Thomas who said, "We'll die with you." Jesus said, "Your light is not in you. You don't understand the spiritual light you need to." When he was talking to Peter, when he was talking to Peter about his dying, and Peter said, in Matthew 16, also in Mark, Peter said, "We will defend you. You will not die." He told Peter to get behind thee, Satan, because Peter was going by the light of the world, not by the light that Christ gave him. You see, we follow the light of the world too many times. And this is why in the beginning, God said it was dark in the world. When his Spirit came into the world, it created light. But there was still darkness. Darkness which is illuminated to some degree by the reflected light of the sun. But we follow a different sun. Is that just a coincidence that the sun is in both, even though it's spelled differently? You see, it says, in him, Jesus, was life. And that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness. And the darkness has not understood it. But the darkness has not understood it. The true light that gives light to every man has come into the world. The spiritual light. So, in the beginning, God separated spirituality, spiritual knowledge from the times of darkness. He made the sun to show us during the day, and then the sun, S-O-N, to show us after it came. He gave us the moon to illuminate some of the darkness, but the darkness is still where people make their own light, follow their own instincts. And it's interesting that the other major religion of this world follows the moon, a crescent moon, which does not give much light. The world itself is in darkness. If you've watched the news the last couple of days, it's getting darker by the minute. It may be darker even still before the next week is out. We have to follow the light of the world. Jesus said, as long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. He who follows me, moves with me, goes with me, comes with me. He who follows me will never walk in darkness. That's something to think about.